What's going on, everybody? It's Ron Brown, LMT, the People's Fitness Professional. We have Dr. Paul Dyer on this. I don't know what happened with that. He'll come back anyway. So tonight we're talking about visual. Visual. We're talking about how visual affects our decisions, and yeah. So hold on one second. He is back. He is back. Visual affects our decisions. That's what we're building on or talking about this evening. And let's go for it. Let's go for it.
So I got we had known that we were gonna may want to do this, right? And I because I'm just not like regular folk. But when you take, and this got me on the visual, and I saw this commercial about the Charmin bear. He came home. He said something to his mother, and he has his little book behind him, and he looks like he's trying to hide something. And she said, "Son, what's going on?" He's got glasses on, and the bear's talking, right? And it's about Charmin. But here's my thought on the visual: why bears would never need glasses in its whole existence, would never need glasses. But now that it's standing up, learning algebra, all of a sudden has these other deficiencies.
Mm.
So I wondered why that is. So if you look over evolution of time, for us to get more streamlined into male that we know now, we might have had to lose a lot of those natural factors through evolution of time. Obviously, we didn't have to run so fast because we could build. So that took the strength out of my legs. You see what I mean? We didn't have to wonder where our food was growing from because we were farming. So that took all that thinking out of it. But when it comes to visual stimulation, it has such a strong effect on humans as we are now than most anything. Think of how much we don't hear because someone says, "Did you hear that?" You go, "Where?" You turn your head. Where? Where are you talking about? So I can put a visual to it before I go back into, I wonder if I hear what? What did it sound like to you? It sounded like this. Thinking through your hearing, I did hear that. But we don't do that. We go, "Man, did you hear that?" And you're looking around like, where? Like, did something happen that I missed before I tapped into my hearing? We have been visualizing what people have programmed for us to visualize and how it needs to affect our emotional being, i.e., commercials, whatever, poster notes, whatever thing that's quick to your visual. Why has there been more women in car ads, right? How does a woman make a car sell better when we know statistically women are they're the abundance who buys big items, big ticket items. Very few men buy big ticket items without their wife. So why are there women in car ads? Because visually, we want the man to earn and yearn for this car and then somehow make reason for it to talk it with our wives. But the visuals triggering all this. It's not logic. It's not this. It's not that. It's visual. I want you to get, so it's a very strong point because they have what you call visual artists for all of our politicians running for an office. What do you look like and what does your look say for you? It's marketing. They're not marketing your hearing, your smell, your taste, your touch. They're marketing your visual experiences, wants, pleasures. That is what they want to trigger, almost like if you smell grandma's cornbread, you're going to start salivating. They want you to salivate through the visual.
Exactly.
So let me share my camera. Let me can you share the screen with me? Slide.
Oh, uploaded it. Then I could add you.
Oh, it wants me to upload it.
Yeah, you gotta share it first, then I'll welcome it in. Yeah, that was a dope thing you said about the whole, car ads. What they do to trigger sensors in the brain and evoke a certain emotions out of you. Yeah,
Yeah. So
even down to the politicians. Their presentation, their appearance. Someone wear a red tie to exert power. That represents power. So the color of the tie,
correct.
showing the nuclear family of a president, how he speaks, his accomplishments. Because that's all down to marketing. That's what marketing is.
So we're getting here, people, for the visual, because I wanted to.
So psychological.
It's so much psychological. New PDF.
Like the colors of McDonald's, the red and yellow. That
Right.
that triggers hunger. Or when you walk into a supermarket, the first thing you do, every human being does this. I would bet you, the first place you walk is towards the right. Am I lying? That's what all the
What?
produces are. The sweets and everything is towards the right.
Yeah. Yep. It's to the right. I'm unable to share. Hold on. Video file. Slide PDF file from my computer. And then from my documents. Man, if we had known.
Why are you searching for that? Engage the listeners and the
Be,
viewers. Don't forget to
be,
comment, like, share, subscribe, people. NYP Talk Show. Super chats. Go ahead.
and how, because how, they say men are visual this, or people are what do you call, they're this type of learner, they're
Oh yeah,
mostly affected by this.
yeah. Auditorial learners, visual
Yeah,
learners, and those who require hands-on. Yeah.
you'll be amazed by what has gotten you to do the things they want you to do.
Mm-hmm. The conditioning.
I think I'm trying to open this, but I can't. This file is, oh shoot.
Do you have the file in maximize on your screen, or
Yeah. My slide's coming up on this one. So the reason I want to show you this, because I want to take you through the process. Is the first thing is it enters, and it has the diagram I have on here is okay. Now I can present because it's right here in the studio. There you go. Okay. So can you expand this a little bit so people can see it? Or is it all just me?
Let me see. Only thing I can do is this.
Yep, do that.
Okay.
Do that. So as people can see, your eyes come in. So that thymus and the amygdala, we have known that the amygdala is, now you can small it a little bit.
Okay.
So you have known the amygdala has always been part of your fear system, fight, flight, things like that, right?
Mhm.
It's the oldest part of your brain for survival. That's all it knows. It's really, it doesn't learn more. It doesn't know how to survive better. Whatever it can use to just think about survival, that's where that amygdala comes in, right? Up here in the thymus, as it goes back to the visual cortex, the next slide here, that cortex now triggers the hippocampus, pituitary, and the hypothalamus, right? Which we know just by up here, it's the stress. So it starts shutting things down. The visual can shut emotions down that it does not register something familiar with. So it's looking for familiarity. It's not looking for logic. And in that immediate visual, if something triggers a past uncomfortableness, you start this circle loop of panic. Because it goes down, so it starts affecting your immune systems, and below that, we can't see it anyway. It starts affecting your kidneys, your liver, your heart. The heart sends the most messages up into the brain. So just from that visual, if it doesn't recognize something familiar, it goes into survival or something that's happened in the past. It doesn't know future. It has no future. Your visual does not give you the future. The visual triggers everything from the past. And if that is overwhelming, it stops a lot of what you call the prefrontal cortex from thinking critically. Because now it's running this loop. I got my cortisol up there going on. I am triggering my motor skills because we have to protect in a fear base. We have to protect ourselves in case something harms us. I got to figure out a way to get out of this. That's what it's working on. It's not working on logical thinking. If you're not a logical thinking in the consciousness, what I mean, think forward, don't be reminded of something, and that's how you apply your logic. Because that's how they get you to move and go in certain directions. Because something you're used to, something familiar with, something you recognize, I can move you that way. The next thing, as you go down here, so it triggers this parasympathetic nervous system, right? You see how it's hard for you to maintain focus. It starts to release sleep hormones because it wants your mind to go into habitual. So you don't ever have to worry about thinking too hard. So that's why it releases the sleep hormones, the serotonin. It wants to bring you down to like, it's okay. I'm going to remember what I remember. This is how I live my life. It's going to be hard to change, and I'm okay with that. That's what that hormone does to you. That's the serotonin. But in this effect, it has an effect. If you don't know how to stop this circle from affecting it all the way down into your body, right? Liver, digestive, muscle, resting heartbeat. So if you're stressed, start triggering all those other stress things we've always talked about. That's what visual is. That's the science of visual.
Okay. So let's say if I have advertisement and I want people to react to the advertisement psychologically to maybe go out there and buy something, then they're going to put something out there that triggers an emotional response
Correct.
for them to move, for people to move. Okay.
Pretty much entice them. Certain colors,
Yeah.
sounds.
Symbols.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. That's deep.
Now, how do I get how would I recognize, and believe me, trust me, this is not a jab. 95 percentile of the people this is what this is. Unless you train yourself to think about what you've seen or what you're looking at.
Mm-hmm.
As a behavior analysis, when I look at people, I look at for who they are in that moment. That gives me way more information than looking at a past video. I can look at a past video and compare. But we a lot of us look at something as more experience, our emotions, things we're taught. So we look at more of the past for a reference than looking at the information given to you at the point. And that's how you know you're in a strong visual loop.
Okay.
Damn. So you basically say, I can't help to say this. But to say, Dr. Dyer, when you teach, it's like it's for all, but it's like this is geared towards the African American community and blacks abroad, because everything that you're saying, to me, it ties back to what people in this country have endured and abroad, people of color, basically.
I'll give you a perfect example. There's something that I've been trying to fight for, this type of education around the country. And some people, anyway, when blacks get pulled over, people of dark skin get pulled over, or in their front porch, on their lawn, walking down the street, anything. When a police officer says, "Can I see some ID?"
Mm-hmm.
Right? Pulled over. Can I see your license? Blacks know now you don't have to give up your ID unless it has something to do with you.
Mm-hmm.
The police officer has to tell you why they stopped you before they ask for your license.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay? Right?
Mm-hmm.
You can be right and still be dead being right.
Yeah.
Because what it turns into by police officers, white police officer, turns into, I asked for it, you give it to me. Now it jumps into resisting arrest, right? Or whatever they can make up at that time. Now, you could be legally right. You don't have to show them that the passenger never has to give an ID or their name.
Exactly.
This is not their property. But when you do that out in the street, what happens, because it's so visual of negative things we have in our mind about the police, our tone comes out differently, not because I'm speaking my mind, but my tone is a lot more threatening. It's a lot more, I'm going to, boy, you have no idea if I get out of this car, I'm going to whoop your whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because if a white person does it, both visuals are on the same level playing field. That's why a white person being pulled over can, I'm not doing this. Nope. Get your supervisor. You ain't gonna do me. The opposite color comes in. They reach in your car. They're dragging you out of your car, and you're like, "What is going on?" And you're resisting arrest. All this because we don't align visually, which triggers certain kinds of historical emotions.
Gotcha.
That's how the visual is such a hard player, even on our everyday lives.
Mm-hmm.
It's what's depicted on television, and as you say, the mental trauma, the scarring. You know, and you basically you in constant trepidation. So that's why in our communities, mostly like people with poor health, because their mind is constantly going. They're replaying
Right.
things from the past and what they've seen on television. And so then, yeah.
So how do you get out of this? You
Mm-hmm.
could say, let's go back to the car. Why'd you pull me over, sir? I need to see a licensed driver. It is my right to request you tell me why you pulled me over. He starts saying, are you trying to resist arrest? That's when all that stops. Here's my license, or I'm not giving you anything, and let's go, detain me, right? Down at the police station. Let's go do that because I'm not speaking anymore. You haven't told me. They'll tell you to get out of the car, put your hands behind your back, and you're going downtown. It's a little bit annoying, but you get to then tell your story in a court because they can't explain by camera. We're breaking out our cameras now that I asked for something, I requested it, and all of a sudden they turned into this. So, but if I raise my voice, you're wrong, and it changes the outcome, or it has a possibility of changing the outcome of how badly this reflects on the officer.
Got you. Now the visual loop. If you could explain that one more time, because as you explained it, it went through the eyes, brain, and then it went through the internal organs there.
Right. So as you can see up on the picture there still, that once it comes in, it comes through that prefrontal cortex, but it has a straight beeline to the thymus and amygdala, right? That circle to the visual cortex, that's the loop. The amygdala, the thymus picks up the chemistry, right? What it starts to do, the visual cortex says, how am I supposed to respond? The amygdala sees like, oh, I can grab this through experiences, education, or things in the past. So now, after this little discussion, and if it's not a thought process, because this can break, as soon as it goes to the thymus, it goes to the visual cortex. It doesn't have to go to the amygdala. But when we are visually stressed or something is alarming to us, this is the route. After that, negatively, it goes through that cortex, right? It hits now, it opens up some of these other nervous systems and adrenal systems and some other systems in your body. As you know, you have 12 systems in your body, right? So this is saying how negatively affects, which affects your heart, your liver, your kidneys, right? All that's starting to be affected by what you're visualizing from the past. This doesn't trigger this a negative effect because you can't have stress on something you've never been before. By definition, you cannot have stress on something you've never did before. The only way you create the stress is your mind tries for you to associate different things that were scary to you, that you were afraid of, and put that into this category, and it's going to give you that alarm like, oh, I don't know if I could do that. I have anxiety. But you've never flown a plane. You've never been on a plane or a train, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But I just got this anxiety. Well, that's your mind telling you have the anxiety because you've never been here before. You know what I mean? This is new. So how can you have something of old and in something of new? You can't. So then after it goes through that cycle, it starts affecting how it comes down the spinal cord. I could have brought in the nerves that came off that C8 there, the C5 there. That's the breathing there. I could have brought in more files. It would just lose you into the rabbit hole because there's nerves. And basically it says it. That's why it says provides constant muscle stimulation. The nerves that runs and delivers that information has all these other friends, and it's like, oh, I didn't know you were going through this, so let me help you with this. So that's why, your digestive system could be off. You can have diarrhea. You have a nervous stomach. You feel like you want to throw up.
High cholesterol.
So you have all these other informations being passed around, all because what you see.
Right. Gotcha.
So when we talk about consciousness, and we have talked about consciousness and the subconscious, this is where the subconscious immediately takes over, is right in the amygdala.
Right.
Because if I'm thinking, there is no need for the amygdala to even wake up.
Right. So for what I know about the amygdala is that the amygdala is like, it's like, it's pretty much about fear. It regulates, that fear emotion. Right. Now, for what I learned about it is that it's not connected somewhere. It's not really connected to the brain. I think something.
No, it's a little loop. It's got a little bridge to go through. It's connected, but it's not like the other big part. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So now how does the amygdala, being that it's attached to the brain, but it's kind of not, how does it affect the brain? That's what I'm trying to figure out. Like,
well, because there's still a way to signal between the amygdala and parts of the other body, right? Okay. Because it's still close to down here into our brainstem. So it has to pass by, but the amygdala has a lot of influence because basically what it's saying is, I've done this, I've been here before, this is what I was told, this is what I remember, this is what I'm used to. A lot of this stuff is going to harm you. Protect yourself. Make sure you have food, make sure you have water, make sure you have safety. If something directly affect me, this is why people don't volunteer. If it doesn't directly affect me, I'm gonna shelter my energy in, right? Mm-hmm. That's
now,
what yeah.
Now, how do you gain control over the amygdala?
By thinking. By consciously thinking of what I'm like, the process. I'm going to say this because you have time in your brain. I'm going to say this, but what is the outcome of how this officer approached my car? Is it reasonable that I'll go through this 2 or 3 times before I see the officer get agitated? Do I want to make a statement here? Am I trying to just prove my point because I have you on YouTube? Am I thinking I'm going to get a lot of big payday out of this if he really harms me or twists my shoulder? The problem with those ideas is that you didn't do the research. You heard about a couple of 2 or 3 people, 10, 100, whatever, that gotten some money out of the police, and you're going to use that as your welfare plan. Are you thinking this through? Probably not.
Right.
So basically, you have to be your own prototype.
Every day, all the time.
Got you. That makes a lot of sense.
Okay. Now, as far as is the visual in the subconscious mind, the amygdala, and so the visual conscious mind, the unconscious mind, or the subconscious mind in the amygdala, it pretty much all works in unison, right? So you recorded already some past trauma,
Yeah,
and then you see something, and that whatever you see that alarms you, it brings you, it triggers like a past experience,
and it triggers the same emotions you had at that experience that you are equating to at this time. So it produces, because maybe you're older, you're a little bit stronger, whatever, your life has changed, it produces more chemicals of a negative side. So this doesn't get like, oh, I'm getting this. No, it produces more, and it builds up in the body. These type of chemicals they cause cellular damage. So cells are being damaged because of this, of long periods of all day of this. So even your good cells, it's like good cells walking down a high school hallway full of hoodlums. And these good cells are just trying to get to class.
Mm-hmm.
And you got all these other knuckleheads banging from wall to wall, laughing and giggling, all this other stuff, and came to school to socialize, but not to get the education. That's why it's all about what happened in the past, because they don't need any new information or education.
Okay, makes sense. That makes sense. So being that, the amygdala, and you have to, in the subconscious mind, you have to actively put work in, so to speak.
Yeah.
So you have to,
Yeah.
Right?
And there it is. I have to put the work in.
Mm-hmm. So do you think that you can put that work, you could use visual to possibly fix whatever's going on there?
Absolutely. Visual you can do, instead of looking at something and never saying it out loud about what you just looked at, and you think you're just scanning the room, but then close your eyes and ask yourself, you scan the room, but what do you remember seeing? Go into another room, right? You know which section you started from and stopped, as you normally turn your head, right? Go to another room and ask myself, what did I just see? How many things you could write down and be right, or even be close? I'm telling you now, I've done it to my students. I've been doing it for a long time. It takes years to practice that type of concentrated thinking as I'm scanning the room. Now, we train these other professionals to do this type of stuff, like a good detective, right? Or other people who do investigation. But for us, we scan room and like, oh yeah, that looks the same.
Yeah.
Which is why they say in the situations, an alligator could walk by you and it wouldn't trigger anything.
So can you use colors, like different colors, different paintings, pictures to help you reset, if you will, for lack of a better term?
No, because you're really working on what you call centering, focusing. And like you only look at a particular thing for a particular time instead of looking as you are walking through your own personal life. And when you have time, you can go to an office or a place of work every day. Do it in a locker room, whatever you can in your house, in your kitchen. Just look around and then get a piece of paper and write down what you saw. You're going to start, this is what I saw, but is it what you remember?
That's true.
And that's going to give you, once you open your eye, be like, oh man, that's not there anymore. She must have taken it down, or she must have put it away, or somebody must have moved it, because I swore I remember being there.
So basically, it's centering your attention, subconsciously, consciously and subconsciously, basically.
Right. You're learning to be aware of what you are consciously, actively doing.
And that's how you sort of reset.
Right. That's how you reprogram.
Yeah, because you can say, you can look around and like, just like you said, I look at my desk and I'm sure this pen is going to be there every time. And then, but is it really there? Right.
Right.
Because in your mind, you think it's there, but maybe it's not. Maybe my daughter moved it or something like that. And I'm like, okay, I got to kind of like rethink this whole. That's why is that the reason why when things are missing, you're so like disheveled?
That is great, because when you're disheveled, all the way down to its core is the unknown.
And we fear what we don't know.
We fear what we don't know.
Okay.
That's a fact. It's a fact. That's a fact.
But we've said this before, over and time again. Words have meanings and frequencies and vibrations, and it has a way to travel into your body by those waves and frequencies, because the words are the words. You can surround it with other obligatory words to hopefully mean something in a sentence, but that's not the case, right? All words have their own significant vibrations. Like, I know people use fire as something good, right? That's fire, it's fire. But the word is negative. The last time fire was used as a positive is when they invented it. That's probably, but fire means in the dictionary destruction. It talks about heat and flame and oxygen and the flammables and stuff like that, but it's negative.
Right. So now, as far as to take it back to the visual and resetting your amygdala and your response sensors or your trigger responses,
Your trigger responses.
your trigger responses. Uh, what about the visual and your hearing sensories? They work together.
They can work together, but
Mhm.
some have alternate issues. Some have more of a priority what they think it is. This is why you can't trust a witness.
Yeah. That's great you said that, Dr. Dyer, about the sensory and the visual and the auditorial. It's like it's like walking down the street, for instance, right? Subconsciously you know all the sounds. It's like before you sense danger, the sound will somehow always shift. You can tell something's off when the sound shift, the
Yep.
movement around you changes.
Yep.
Isn't that part of that as well? The amygdala?
It is. But here's the thing. Okay, let me explain to you this way too, because I think I understand how what Ron was asking is that, so I see something, I have a fear response. But as it goes through and picks up my hearing should be like, why are you afraid of that?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
So it doesn't it doesn't have a bigger decision making as the car gets filled up with all its other senses. Visual drives a lot.
Mm.
It's always driving.
Right.
Unless you're thinking, then the other five senses are riding in the back of the minivan and what you call, there's another driver, because we can't drive and think. The visual sees it, recognizes, it knows where it's got to go, how it's going to travel. Audio's questioning it, but you're starting to make a lot of sense with your experiences, your education, you're looping things. Now, this goes back into why is this such a strong way of wanting to loop? It's because 95% of your life is ran subconsciously. So the mind wants to put everything into habitual, which makes it easier to use less protein, less carbohydrates, and less energy, and I'll save what I think is important to where the brain really has to do the critical thinking. And if I can really move that down to let you think, it's not that big a deal, you probably say, forget about it, right? And let the subconscious do its thing. Not many people think in a day. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
Not many people think in a day.
They don't. Thinking takes work. See, if people thought throughout the day, they wouldn't come back from work going, man, that was a hard day. Because that's when they had to think. That lets you know what the rest of your life is like.
Yeah.
Everything is just like programmed.
Second nature.
Yeah. A loop. Got you.
When kids will come home from kindergarten, full day kindergarten or first grade, they crash. They take a nap. They're going to lay down. They're going to be, I'm hungry. I just want to chill in their own little 6-year-old way, 7-year-old way. I just want to chill.
Mm-hmm.
But they're not want to think, because this whole direction and be quiet over here and it's getting them to think.
Mm-hmm.
We humans do our best to try not to think. And Black America does the best at it with the least return. We'll spend 1.2 trillion on gear and stuff for anyone else.
Mm-hmm.
But if we did it for ourselves, we'd be the richest nation, right? We'd be one of the richest nations.
Exactly.
But they don't look at it logically. They look at it as, it's easy. I'll go there. I don't have to. I know what they mean. You know, I got it. I still got to go and get my stuff. They know I'm down with them.
Shop at China. They got it for half price.
Right. But let me ask you to start a black school. I don't know if I got that money. What do you mean? You just spent $20 a week at this store, and you could at least give that $100 to me. I didn't ask you to give me 1,000 or 100,000. You got it. You got it. You don't. You don't. Your $100, $10, $5. We want to start a black education center. How many people will chip in? No, but they'll go buy that natural cup of coffee. They'll go spend easily the money they could have donated to something they believe in, but it doesn't trigger them visually. So that means so many people can't see forethought, which is why they can never see advancement. So it's hard to talk to people about advancement when it doesn't have a visual connection to them to trigger the most major traffic circle you've been in is a visual lifestyle.
Which brings me to this. I changed. Now this is a small example. I changed the thumbnails on the podcast page. The thumbnails didn't have faces. Right. They just had images. Do you know the numbers went down?
Yeah. I was telling people got accustomed to the visualization. It's all visual. That's all they know.
That's all they know is visual.
And now you got them thinking like, I gotta go look for this. Although they hear the name of the show every time in the intro. NYP Talk Show. That's all you gotta type in.
Right. But the changing of the thumbnails brought the numbers down.
Because it's visual. Something they don't visually connect with.
Right. So that's heavy. That's so now we from this podcast and past experiences, we know that the visual is extremely important.
I told Ron that just transparency, the visuals is very important because people, they will assume not knowing what goes on behind the scene, and we'll be arguing with you over $85. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's just people to see. It's the visual. They assume like they see this podcast and like, nah, these dudes. No, it's not like that. It's a lot to it.
Yeah. It's a lot. It's a lot to doing this right here.
It's just like if you gave someone a choice of taking $50,000 cash now in front of you, or I'll give you $10,000 a week. Which one would you take? They can't see $10,000 a week.
I'll take the week.
But they can see 50,000 in front of them. They'll take that now and they're like, I'll decide what to do with it. So now I'm bringing in what you call the ego, which is best friends with the amygdala.
Ooh, wait a minute. You got to explain that right there.
Yeah, ego and the amygdala, what it does, they're the besties of best. Like they went to like grade school together, best. Ego wants to stand up for something it remembers being better at. Because ego can't be present or future. Because ego only defends what it believes takes away from me as a person. What I think of me. Not what the numbers say, not what things say, you know what I mean? Just what I think of me. It will defend that as a survival, so it uses all the skills that amygdala does to trigger the same chemical response. Man, I wouldn't do that. You'd be like a fool. What do you call me, a fool? What? Me, a fool? You know me, now you call me a fool? Forgotten all about why I told him not to do that. He's not questioning that. He's upset about the fool. So now I'm going to defend. I'm going to do this anyway. You can't tell me shit. Right? But if he viewed you as something person respected, it would have never gotten there. It'd be like, hey, Mikey, what are you talking about? You wouldn't do what? What you're about ready to do right there. And then we talk about whatever it is I was about ready to do.
Mm-hmm.
We could talk about it logically. I see understandings. Oh, I didn't know that. Now I can make a decision.
Exactly.
Ego stands in front of all that.
Not a fan of the ego at all.
No.
So the ego is basically attached to fear.
Yeah. I knew ego is another. I used to use it as another acronym. It's called Edge God Out.
Yeah. Because it's built on false pretense, grandeur of illusion. Like I'm the omnipotent, untouchable.
Yeah.
Like that's the ego.
That's the ego.
Egos.
It's like a young running back coming into the league and gets his first start and saying, I could carry 30 times. Do you know what it's like to carry 30 times in the NFL? We'll probably have to carry out in a stretcher. Your body's going to be so sore if you don't build up to it. That little silly 18 games you played back down there because you made the playoffs or whatever, is nothing compared to banging up with these guys. 30 carries a game. Who's telling you this? Emmitt Smith. You going to listen? You're not going to listen. Can't tell me nothing. Right? That's just no, you know what I mean? He don't know. He don't know my body.
Oh, yeah,
okay, right?
That's that slang.
Ridiculous.
You don't know my body. Okay.
I don't know. I was running back in NFL for 16, 17 years, and you're just now coming in. All right. It isn't. Ego doesn't get logic.
Don't you think ego is necessary though?
Okay. You need to explain to me how, where I can tell you as equally and more productively, conscious thinking outweighs anything ego could ever do.
Well, it depends on what you consider ego, because ego also for me is a defense mechanism to assure your safety,
okay,
and dignity, and
okay. As a conscious being, you have went through what dignity is to me. Like you've gone through dignity. So these are all these same questions, right? To the conscious person, what is dignity? How would they know how to judge me on my dignity? What type of, so it goes through this logical way of who said it, where they said it, when they said it, what's going on. There's a history to this, what is this triggering from? The conscious level's thinking of all that. It's very fast. It's not like as slow as me saying it, but it's going through all that possibilities, configurations. Ego goes right back to experience. Someone's talked to me like this before. I don't like it. I'm going to defend myself. That's it. It's like me going back to Mikey telling me I'm doing a fool thing if I do that. I'm so focused on being called a fool because in my past, someone's called me a fool. Or whatever, someone thought of me as a fool. I didn't like the negativity of being called a fool. Fool has a very strong emotional pull. And the word triggered that pull, not my logic thinking.
Got you.
That's deep.
Got you.
That's deep.
Wow. I hope the audience got that right there. It's this part of the podcast, you got to really think. You know, if you want to stay on that loop, man, good luck. But
Yeah.
you got to really pay attention and to really get what Dr. Dyer is saying, and right now is clear. Thank you for coming out, Dr. Paul Dyer. Really appreciate you. We're gonna get this is pre-recorded, but we're gonna get Dr. Dyer back on a live.
That's a fact.
For sure. Thank you for all who viewed this. What is it? I'm gonna post this, I think, Saturday.
Mhm.
Thank you guys for viewing this Saturday. Really appreciate you. We're back on live with Dr. Paul Dyer next week.
Next
And
week.
we are out of here in peace.
Peace.